Welcome to Toffee TV. It is time for another manager update, and it seems quite clear now that it looks like Rafa Benitez will be coming in as the Everton manager unless there is a last minute development. Obviously overnight we've seen some a really sinister image put out on social media. This followed on from banners over the weekend at Goodison Park. The spraying of Goodison as well, but this one was nasty. This one was nasty. As I've said previously, if people want to voice their concerns about a manager, do it in a way, be respectful. But this has gone, way too far. And just makes us look like, these things for any club it's always put on the entire fan base. When anything happens, it's always put on the entire fan base, and it just made us look really, 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 really bad. And I've just seen Sky Sports News they're reporting it. Merseyside police are involved, and just when you go to that lengths to do something by putting something outside, literally outside somebody's house, that's bad. Really, really bad.
Yeah, it's scandalous. Absolutely scandalous. It's overstepping the mark, overstepping any kind of boundary. You said last week, I don't agree with them, but if you feel like you want to let your feelings known and they're putting it at Goodison, then at least be respectful about it. To put it at someone's house is embarrassing. It's been picked up by everybody. All the tabloids have got it, all the nationals have got it. I've seen other fan bases just laughing at us, calling us dickheads and small club. And the sad thing is, the thing that people are offended by, this kind of stuff makes us look like exactly what that is. We look an embarrassment today. And you're right, it's not, listen, it's a handful of people, but we'll all be tarnished with the same brush. And it's given those people that one ammunition. It's giving them all the ammunition they need. It's giving coming here and the Reds are smirking it, like, because it's embarrassing. You feel like you've got to front it up, and that's everywhere. But the reality is, Everton have chosen who they want as the manager, so people have got to accept it. Either don't go if it's upset you that much, or get used to it. You don't have to love him. You don't like him. I can't tell people how to feel. But the fact of the matter is, this kind of thing, I don't think is going to stop him being Everton manager. And all you're doing is you're putting us on a disadvantage immediately. And I want Everton to win. And if Rafa Benitez is the manager and we win something, then fair play to him. But all we're doing, I've spoke to a few people who were in the game, and it's like Everton's name in the game is terrible now. Because A, people don't trust the owners, because what manager's going to leave a good job to go there because you don't last? And B, the fan base is too impatient. That's what's going around the game. This kind of stuff just highlights it even more, makes it more difficult.
Well, the irony is that, just looking from social media today, is that it's actually he's gained a lot of support off the back of it. And people who maybe over the weekend, there's something we talked about last week in terms of Everton letting it simmer for a few days, letting people get used to the idea. I think a lot of people have got used to the idea now. And we're okay, you still wouldn't want him a lot of people wouldn't want him as the manager. But now we're like, well, I'll back him now. Maybe not back him ferociously, but back him in terms of, no, if he's the manager, then fine. And if it's between him as the manager and you as the fan who's put the bed sheet up, or then I'm picking him as the manager, because I'm not standing for that at the club. And really, that's the way it should be. Ultimately, like you've just said there, you didn't beforehand. You've got to put up with the fact that he's the manager if you're against him. But now it's going to be, well, I'll give him my backing. I mean, I'll certainly give him my backing. And I think a lot of people will feel the same, because you don't do stuff like that. That's a line you don't cross. It's football.
His family have lived there for 20 years, or well, about 17 years, and are happy in this area. It's not like they just arrived and then people are going at their house and making them feel uncomfortable. It's disgusting.
It's football. It's football. It doesn't need that. And we've had enough we've had enough ups and downs. And this is the funny thing about it. We've had enough ups and downs in the last few years where, to me, this is just disappointment. It's just water off a duck's back. It doesn't mean enough to me now in terms of like this is a big shocking appointment, because it's not. This is what I've been saying the last few weeks. I'm numb to the whole thing because we've had that we've been saved up that much dross in terms of appointments and signings and everything else in the last 3 or 4 years, that this just doesn't mean anything to me. And nobody coming in would have meant anything to me simply because that it's a case of, okay, well, let's just see how this one gets on. So for anyone to have those kind of feelings, I really don't know where you get those feelings from, because has he actually said anything that is like as said to you as a fan, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, you're the other. I mean, I think the things Wayne Rooney did and said were worse, and we welcomed him back with open arms because he was an Evertonian.
Some did.
No, but what I mean. But most people did. There was no banners for him.
This is a comment that was made 15 years ago, or whatever it was, 14 years ago. Yeah. It is what it is, yeah. And let's be honest, we kind of did play like a small team that day. We went and tried to defend, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's you achieve results with the players you've got. He's made the comments. You've got to think about that comment at the time. Got under our skin massively, so it did what he intended it to do. But also, it was after the game, and he was frustrated because we'd gone there. They weren't good enough to break us down. That's what when managers have digs at other teams, it's because it's their own inefficiencies that they're having a go at. You know, when Allardyce used to do it with, like, he'd put the blame on the team. It wasn't him. And other managers will have a go with other clubs. I've heard Klopp do it. Klopp does it loads. When Rooney scored the pen when Allardyce was here, Klopp was moaning because there was an Everton fella asking a question in the thing with an Everton coat on. They all do. They all lose their heads when they can't get the results. He chose to have a derogatory comment. It was years ago. Yeah. It's done. As far as I'm concerned, that isn't the reason why I didn't want to have said it before. It was the other stuff. But the banners thing for me, certainly at his house, is overstepping the mark. And I just want Everton to...
Because it's not a message to the right person either.
No.
It's not a message to the right person. The person to have the message to is Farhad Moshiri and the Everton board. They're the people to have the message to. If you're going to put banners up, you're not talking... Why would you be talking to a man who's taken the job? You should be talking to the people who are giving the job, as in to say, we don't want this person.
We don't want that appointment, yeah.
And that's as far as you should go. You know, to put up a banner like we've seen today is a sinister act. It's a threat. We obviously, you know, and it's a warning. And that what's worse about it is you will do nothing. So
no,
you will absolutely
Conor McGregor
do nothing. And
the police are on it now.
The same way that the people who come out and say that they will not go the match, you will go the match. You just will. There's no way people are dropping. I tell you one thing, people certainly aren't dropping away credits. I know that for a fact. Definitely not dropping away credits. So people will go the match. There'll be enough time between, the proposed appointments and the start of the season for everyone to settle down and get on with the business of supporting Everton Football Club and not worrying about who the manager is. You know, because Jesus Christ, we've had the 3 or 4 years.
My take on it is we've tried other things, haven't we? And it's been rubbish anyway. It's not like, I mean, someone was ripping them. I seen a thing, there was a conversation, and for some reason I was copied into it. I can't even remember why, but it was a conversation with someone saying, like, he's rubbish, he's done nothing in the last 10 years, he's won 3 trophies in 10 years, and someone was like, Everton have won 1 trophy in 26 years, he's won 3 in the last 10, and you're saying he's not good enough for us now. Well, where we are, I still judge Everton by 85 and 87 as being the best team in the land, but the reality is we're not even in the top 6 teams in the land at the moment. So have this idea in our minds that we can go and get these world-class managers that want to come and manage us is mad. We've got to get to a level where everything's improving, and then we might get a much, much better manager. When you look at the moment at what's available, what is available, I can see Conte in the comments there. Conte isn't coming to Everton. because Everton haven't got £200 million to throw at him, as well as 15, 18 million a year. I'm sure Everton have inquired about him and spoke to his representatives. I'm sure they have, the way Spurs did. And I've gone, how much? No, I don't think we can do that. Or maybe Everton went, so we can do it. And he's gone, oh, you're all right. So we can have these managers who we would rather have. And I've said before, he wouldn't be in my top 5 picks. But if he's picked, he's been picked because the owners think he's the best man.
I've said this numerous occasions. Everton and Everton fans need to realise who we are and what we are right now. Right now. Not, you know, we're talking, we love to talk about other clubs being this and being that, you know, clubs like Chelsea and whatever not being as big as us. They just won a Champions League. You know, Man City have just won another league.
Champions League.
No, they just won. They are you know, Man City have just won another league title. You know, it's great going, we've still got more league titles. Those teams will catch up to us on league titles before we win another league title. You know, that's the simple fact. And people have to realise that. And we're not doing it the way it should be done. Now, if this is a step to doing it in the right way, I don't know if it is or not. The problem is that who knows at the moment, because there's this lovely idea of go and get this young, hungry, up-and-coming manager that will change the club. But is the club set up for that right now? I don't think it is. I really wish it was. I just don't think it is. When I look at the people on the pitch, I really don't think we've got the players for, you know, a young, hungry manager to come in and start changing things about. And that's where we are as a club. Where we'd like to be is obviously a different place. But people have got to, there's got to be that realisation, first of all, as a fan base, that we're just not a big club anymore. We're just not. We're an old-fashioned, traditional club, I get that. But we're not a big club right now. And if we want to get ourselves into a position to get back and start challenging those teams, then you have to do something that, you know, maybe dramatic. And this is obviously what they think is that dramatic move. Bringing someone in who's, you know, I've looked at the numbers and I've looked at his record. And like we said, I think we said on Thursday, for me, he's a Premier League manager who's worked at both ends of the league, and there's all that experience now. You know, will help him because he knows the game here. He'll know the kind of players. He's not bringing somebody in who has an idea of what he wants as a football manager, but it doesn't actually translate to this country. Yeah. This fella knows what he wants from the players, and I think we've said that loads of times, Baz, about understanding why aren't we going out and buying big, fast, aggressive footballers that suit the Premier League, because actually you get 4 or 5 of them in your team, in the squad, suddenly you're aggressive and you are, you know,
compete.
You know, yeah. Funny enough, I was looking before because I did an interview with a Chelsea fan, and I was looking at, if you're looking for positives, Baz, he bought Demba Ba for Chelsea.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean, that should really cheer every Everton.
I'm just saying, he bought Demba Ba.
Demba Ba.
So,
yeah.
And we all know.
We know what happened with Demba Ba.
So, I think...
Brought Xabi Alonso and Mascherano and that to Liverpool. They weren't bad footballers, really.
No.
So, I've because of obviously where we are, I've watched quite a few things over the weekend with him. I was watching something with Gillan Ballaghay and him last night, an interview when he was at Newcastle, just to understand like how he views the game and stuff. Very hard worker, you know, very studies the game and puts the, you know, he's in at 7:30 in the morning, goes home at 7:30.
Told you he used to be on the first train. My brother-in-law got on this. My brother-in-law used to work in Leeds, and sometimes he'd have to be on the first train. And he said Rafa Benitez would often be on that train up to Newcastle.
Well, he's happy to be at the training ground till late. Early morning, late finishes, because it's trying to get things right. Everton don't we, as a fan base, someone who's fanatical about football, someone who will look at everything to try and get as much out of it. You know, if he still wants this job after all this nonsense that's gone on, then fair play to him. People can talk about, I've seen someone today going, he's only coming for the money. He could have got a job. I'm sure he'd have got a job in most places if he'd have just done gone. Because he's got a good CV, he's got a lot of money, he's been paid well. He's just come out of China on 12 million a year. So I don't think money is the overall, because you don't come to Everton just for the money. For him, knowing how much of a difficult step it's going to be for you, but I don't know. We tried other stuff. We were made up when Carlo come in, and that was a shit show, wasn't it? We tried Marco Silva, the younger manager, and all that. That didn't work. Koeman, like a lot of people were made up. Ronald Koeman, it was crap after a year. We wanted, you know, Koeman, as a lot of reporters have said, you know, we couldn't wait to get out the building, get on the golf course. You know, 12 o'clock, he was gone. In at 9, gone at 12. Well, you know, I'd rather my manager be in at 7 and gone at 7, trying to get it right than other ones. So, listen, the owners have decided, for whatever reason, that he is the right man. He might have been, it sounds like he's interviewed very well. It sounds like his proposals are what they want. But they've both shown, and Moshiri's shown, he's not afraid to pull the plug if it isn't working. So, you know, maybe they're looking now and going, and I go back to what Ballagay's comments were last week, and I just found them quite interesting about there being a sea change at the club now. And they've had enough kind of thing. And Paul Joyce referenced this in an article over the weekend. They've had enough of losing, and they want to start doing it their way now. And I just wonder what that means, to doing it their way. I wonder if that means that some other people at the club will be pushed out, or will just be not listened to. I don't know. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But one thing's for certain, they've seen the feeling towards the appointments by a lot of fans, and they've still gone ahead with it. So, or look like they're still...
Yeah, they're aware of...
Until the ink's dry, anything can happen. But
yeah, of course.
It seems like they're still very much going along with it. So if that's the case, then quite clearly they believe that he is the right fella for the job. And if that is the case, then I hope he does really well, because it means Everton are doing well. And I can't bring myself to be in a situation where I don't want Everton to do well because I don't like the person that's there. It just doesn't sit right with me. And I've watched some crap in my time. You know, Walter Smith, Jesus, that football. Martinez's last season, horrific. Allardyce, you know, we've gone through it. It's not like we're a team that's in the Champions League playing great football and we've gone and got a manager who hasn't done it for years. We're a team who was sat in the middle of the, 8th to 12th over the last 8 years or so. So we've got a manager who some might view as a manager who's in the 8th to 12th brackets. Well, there you go. But then again, with better players, I've said it before, I think he's good tactically, so therefore with better players, I think Everton could, and Rafa Benitez could get Everton into Europe. And maybe that's what they're looking at and going, well, if we try to back him, he could get us into Europe because of the tactical side of it. But it's easy to hit him with a stick and go, he hasn't done this and he hasn't done that, because what level of players he had for a while? Last good level of players he had really was Napoli, and he got them in the Champions League and he won the Italian Cup. And before that, he had good players at Chelsea and he won the Europa League and got them into the Champions League. So, it's not perfect. And I said before, he wouldn't have been in my top 5 managers to pick to be our manager. But if they've decided he's the right man, then we have to deal with it, don't we? Surely.
In the right way.
In the right way.
In the right way. Just be... football is, and always will be, and always should be, an emotional subject and an emotional topic. But ultimately, you've got to let the people get on with the jobs who make the decisions. If you don't like the people who make the decisions, then make your voice heard about that. As I've said, you don't need to, if you're not happy with the appointment, then so be it. Stop going the game. Each to their own, isn't it? No one can tell anyone else what to do or how to feel about something.
that's the way it is. I'm not going to sit here and go, it's a disgrace that you're not 100% made up with him, because I'm not 100% made up with him. But you handle it, and I wouldn't say to someone else, you're not an Evertonian if you're happy. Because I've seen that on Twitter. You're not a blue nose if you want him in. How can you tell someone to feel? People might just look and go, we've had others. Excuse me, we've had others who've been rubbish. So why not give this fella a go? If there was, said it before, if there was 3 proper outstanding candidates that we weren't looking at, listen. I can throw Gaultier in and go, he'd have been good. We'd have got him in. The fella who's never managed in the Premier League, and maybe he didn't want it.
Yeah,
we don't know.
And also, you look at the situation with Crystal Palace, and you look at the situation with Tottenham. 3 teams who are in very similar boats at the moment. There's obviously the other 2 haven't got managers. The other 2 are Nuno has been linked with all 3. Very close to going to Palace, very close to coming to Everton. Now he's mentioned with Spurs. Spurs are not chasing after Gaultier. They're not. There's the same circle of managers. Potter's been linked with Spurs. The same circle of managers being linked with all 3 clubs, because there just isn't a big pool out there at the moment. It seems there seems to be a lot of experienced managers coming to the end, and a lot of younger managers starting their journey, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of credible people in the middle who are available. Yes, of course, you've got good managers who are very happy to be where they are. I mean, we just mentioned there, Sean Dyche is getting offered apparently £100,000 a week to stay at Burnley, because they understand the value of him, and they understand the value of being in the Premier League. Now, I'm not saying we'd be after Dyche, not saying Spurs be after Dyche, but Palace might be after Dyche. There's been rumours of him going there. Yeah. So obviously that's because they understand the value to him. So, there's a middle market, but there's not, they're not available. They're probably happy. They're on, the fact that someone would want them, it means that they're doing a good job. But
David Moyes was, put his name in the hat for this, but then, wanted assurances that he was going to get it before he blew, West Ham out the water. And Everton wouldn't give him it. A lot of people would have been massively against that. And yet David Moyes, I think quite clearly, is an Evertonian. When you listen to him speak, he still call it we, and it's this and it's that. People wouldn't have been happy with him. Duncan Ferguson, people weren't happy with wanting Duncan in charge, and yet blue nose, and seeing loads of people now go and give it to Dunk. Well, those same people were saying, no, don't give it to Dunk 2 weeks ago. So it is, when you look around, sadly, that there's like top managers aren't available. And so maybe Everton would get Rafa Benitez, and maybe as the process goes, he either does really well, or maybe another manager becomes available, and then the hierarchy go, that's actually who we want. Thanks, Rafa. Off you go. We've got him in. Who knows? We just don't know, do we? We don't know how it's going to go. There's a lot of predictions out there. A lot of fortune tellers, it seems, with what's going to happen if this manager gets it or that manager gets it. But the reality is, we don't know. And so maybe it is a whole, we don't know the length of contract. It'll be a 2-year contract with an option or anything. And Everton might be going, will you come and steady this? Because like you said last week, it's almost like the least disruption after Carlo, because Carlo, whether people like it or not, is a negative manager in terms of...
Well, he's a manager who fills the bottle with whatever it needs filling up with. Thing.
But what I meant was last season. I was looking at last season. Everton played very negatively, but we won a lot of games. And people go on about, he's negative, he's this. But there's quite a lot of managers. Nuno's a negative manager. But it's about getting results, isn't it? It's great going, we want to do this, we want to do that. And we'd all love to see nice football, but I wouldn't want Everton to play like Spain. Some people would. I get bored with it. 80-12 passes to go nowhere. Bores me. But then I don't want everyone behind the ball and us trying to win off a set piece as well. So I want a happy medium. He, like Carlo Ancelotti, will adjust what he's got. And that may be why Everton have looked at it, because they've looked and gone, well, there's another experienced manager who's won leagues and Champions Leagues. He's good at man management, or he's good at going with, organising a squad or a team, whatever. And we'll give it to him. And while And what they should be doing though, right? And I don't know, and this may be where they're not doing it, but what they should be doing is when Benitez gets the job, they then should have their eye on other managers as we go forward, so that if it isn't working, they know who to go to, rather than it gets to a situation where they feel like they have to sack him and it starts all over again, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You should always have your eye on the next thing in, twin tracking.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully Everton doing that. And who knows, next time it might be a Duncan Ferguson, or next time it might be a Graham Potter, or next time it might be a Christophe Gaultier. But this fella might still be in post because he's doing well. So, that's kind of where we are. We've got a super chat here. From Wildlife. Says, how do ex-Everton managers keep on getting top jobs? Moyes to United, Martinez to Belgium, Koeman to Barca, Carlo to Madrid. Surely this shows the problem is more than just a manager at the club. A few people have said this to me. In fact, Paul Machin said this to me last week. Was like, look at where some of your managers go. Is it a bigger issue? Or is it than them? Do you know what I mean? They get sacked. I know Carlo didn't get sacked. Carlo went off back to there, but others have got sacked and have fallen upwards.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's a bigger issue, or do you think
we've all got eyes, haven't we? We all know. We all know how we all felt when, Martinez at the end. There's no way. No way he could have kept.
Do you think Koeman was sacked too soon? I've seen this before.
No, because I'd tell you one thing with Koeman, what I always feel is that he just got that second season, he got everything wrong. He got the pre-season wrong for the start. He made a mess of it. He didn't know how to cope with the pre-season and the Europa League qualifying. He didn't have a clue what to do. He didn't know. We played three games. We looked really undercooked when we went into the first leg of the Rosenberg game. They looked well more lively than us. There should have been, and that to me comes down to being ill-prepared, which means half-arsed in the Sabari. When we went into the season.
And the worst thing about that Europe thing was we clinched it with weeks so it wasn't like we got it on the last day. We had it done in April.
Yeah.
We beat Southampton, I think, or something at home, and that was it. It was done.
We then went into the season, and he didn't know how to juggle all these new players, and he didn't know how to, again, start a season playing Premier League football and Europa League football. So he just got it completely wrong. And by the time we got to the Burnley game, and by the time we got to the Arsenal game, he'd self-sabotaged himself. He looked terrible. He just had this look of a man who didn't know how to do both things at once. He didn't have enough in the bank to get him through.
Yeah.
And he was just, and that comes
and
down.
And he never bought into Everton.
No, and that's the other thing. He never, like you said earlier though, that's being prepared to get into the training ground before everyone else and leave the training ground after everyone else and find the solutions and put the work in. That's being half-arsed. That's it's basically going, I'll go on holiday and I'll sort the pre-season when we come back, because that's what it felt like.
That's what he did.
Coming back and playing a game on a rec pitch, and then going to playing a game in Belgium. And it was we said loads of times, when Moyes was here, again, you refer back to Moyes, I remember some pre-seasons he split the squad. I remember there was a game in Bury one day and a game in Port Vale, and he gave everybody a game, and he made sure that we were ready for the seasons. And there was no attention to detail. I think that's where he got it wrong, and I think other people have got that wrong. I think Martinez's pre-season was terrible, and people always go, pre-season's pre-season. But the results don't matter, of course they don't. But it's how you are set up and how you are going into the season and how much preparation you've put in. And if the preparation isn't there for the games, then what is it for the training? And I think that showed certainly with him. So I don't think he could have any arguments about it.
No, it's fair. It's fair enough.
And obviously, Silva was somewhere in between as well. He looked out of his depth. I know he hasn't got a job, but he looked out of his depth. It's just
in lines for the Palace job.
Well,
know what I'm saying?
Koeman has fallen up just simply because he re-established himself with the Holland job, which is what a lot of Dutch managers seem to do.
And he's ex-Barca, isn't he?
And he's ex-Barca. He's a legend at Barca, and they needed a placeholder, and he got it. And really, if there was anyone else, he'd have got sacked this summer. If there was anyone else, he would have got sacked. Ironically, it could have been Martinez. Martinez seems to fit the role of an international manager. And like we said...
And Moyes, United come for Moyes because he was doing well at Everton.
Carlo Ancelotti, again, Real Madrid have probably looked around, knew they needed a new manager and just went, well, let's just give it to Carlo Ancelotti. And Carlo Ancelotti, if you were a Real Madrid fan and you were like an Everton fan, you'd be looking going, what? He's done nothing. And you'd have the same reaction, take about the Liverpool connection. But if you looked at it in terms of a manager, you go, so we're given the job, we're trying to win the league from our rivals who won the league last season. So imagine being us.
No.
Liverpool have just won the league, and we're like, we want to win the league, and we're getting a fella who finished 10th at Everton. And before that, he had a job at Napoli, where he was sacked, and we're bringing it in to try and get the trophy back. But most of them have just gone, it's Carlo, big name, get him back in.
It's the name, isn't it?
It's, you know,
it's the name.
It's mad.
Barry JB says Conte's still playing hard to get. Marcus Cooper saying, will it be today? Need to get on with it. Need to confirm it so we can get on with it. I don't think it'll be today. Sam O'Donnell says that banner was effing grim. Chris Spurrier says the banner is a disgrace. Adam Brooks says, is he my first choice? No, but will I give him a chance to prove himself? Yes. Kate. Hafiz Shirani says Moshiri should have just let Brands do his job. Seen this a lot over the weekend because obviously Paul Joyce put an article out, someone had been speaking. How do we know that it's in Brands' remit to choose the manager? I'm not saying he shouldn't, but I'm just saying, how do we know that it was in the remit to
One thing I find quite interesting, right, is if you think about it, right, Brands serves two purposes, doesn't he? He's the director of football, like that's his day job, but he also sits on the board. He's also a board member. So obviously these things get discussed at a level that he is privy to.
Yeah.
So in terms of like going out and searching for the next manager, maybe that's not in his remit, but he does have this will have been a board level where his opinion will have to be asked because he is a director, and he will give, and I suppose that's the beauty of him being on the board, is that he can't be overlooked. Whether you overlook his opinion, it doesn't matter, but you get his opinion on stuff. So ultimately he will have had his opinion heard. Whether it's part of his job is another thing. Ultimately, we don't know. Listen, it's like anything else, right? If you employ anybody and you give them the remit to do certain stuff, that's their job. If they're fully aware that it's not within their job to find a new manager, then they already know that. But at least he's got a say on the matter.
But that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are going, he needs to go now because they're not letting him pick the manager. And all I'm saying is, do we know that it was his job to pick the manager? Because the director of football at Chelsea doesn't pick the manager. Director of football at other clubs doesn't pick the manager. Some might, but a lot.
I think a lot comes down to how we perceive that job, because ultimately we don't know what his job is, and I think there was this idea that he was like, when Silva came in and we sat next to him, there's this idea that he picked him, which he clearly didn't pick him. The Farhad Moshiri wanted him from the day Everton played Watford or before that. But it was made out like he had a big say in it. I think that was just, maybe...
I think they spoke to him.
He gave the blessing.
Yeah.
But, I've seen Alan Myers, and he's like the unofficial Everton spokesman at the moment. Like, Everton, just give him his job back.
Yeah, just honestly, get him back.
Just give him his... If anyone from Everton's watching, right, give him his job back. Because, honest to God, he does it a million times than any of you at the football club right? Any of yous.
Because he's an Everton,
right?
And he understands the fan base. That's why. So honestly, he knows about communication.
He understands, he's a brilliant communicator, and he understands. Give the man his bleeding job back, because he does it 10 times better than anyone at the football club can, right? But we've seen him over the weekend, and before that, just giving us an experience as the matter, and not even at Everton, more when he was at Blackburn, because when he was at Blackburn, he was the fella who had to talk.
He basically ran the club.
Yeah, he had to talk those Blackburn owners off the ledge numerous times. He was the fella who put common sense into the boardroom. So he understands how it all works. He understands that owners ultimately pick managers. They sign the check. They're the ones who have to sign it off. They don't sit there going, you know, because these fellas, I've said this before, to be a billionaire, you have to not only see the future, but make it happen. That's how you become a billionaire. So they think like that. They think, if I make this decision, I'll get it right. So when they sack people, they also think like that. It's you know, it's weird, but that's how they become billionaires. So Alan's been saying all weekend, the owners, it doesn't matter what you think. He's an employee, and this guy who owns the club will pick the manager. And we've seen that referenced in articles, in the Joyce article, you know, and maybe that doesn't sit well with other people who sit on the board. Maybe, you know, the fella who's the chairman of the board, because he hasn't got the power. Yeah. Because he doesn't own a club, and he's used to making those decisions. And that's actually, if you think about it, that is a big step down. You're the fella who owns the club, and then they go, no, you don't make this decision anymore, I do. I make this decision. Doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what you think other people will think of you if I make this decision, which sometimes can be the thing. You know, I remember Bill Kenwright coming out telling the world that Everton would never think about having rail seating at the ground because of how it would affect other people on Merseyside. I mean, that come down straight away when the new ground was put out there.
And ironically, Liverpool are having
and Moshiri's the owner. You know, it's not what your opinion is. It's what people will think of you.
Yeah, but that's ego.
No, I know what it is. Yeah. So so in terms of brands, he will get a say. His opinion will be asked. They'll ask him, if we bring in this manager, what's the challenge going to be for you? And the first thing will probably be, he can't get in my way of what I'm doing. I've got a job to do, and he can't get in the way. He can have his opinion. Carlo did. You know, we all sat here last year, right? And I don't know about anyone else, but when I saw the pictures of Carlo, Brands in the Titanic with the 3 players, that to me was so exciting. That was so exciting. James Rodriguez, Alan, Decore, Brands, Carlo, all sitting around
getting
it all sorted. That, you know, thinking these have got this boxed off. This is like a proper, you know, this is how you do it. This is how you look after people. This is how you don't just leave them sitting in a hotel room. You go down there, you have a few drinks and a meal with them. That's how you get it done. And so, yes, Brands, I think his remit has sort of changed in terms of if a big manager comes in, or you know, but also there is this fella has to come in and go, you know, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm willing to work within these parameters of having a director of football. So I think, you know, there will be movements on both sides. But there has to be, doesn't there? There has to be. This is how football clubs have to move forward. There has to be give and take.
Alan Dunbar says, I want a young manager who knows how to handle pressure and is tactically sharp. Gallardo, River Plate, but he's going to cost us. But obviously Everton don't want to gamble at the moment, do they, with that? Barry Walls says, one thing is for sure, Rafa Benitez will be tougher on players than Carlo was. Yeah, definitely.
Get them fit.
Mitchell says, I was going to super chat, but I just joined Peyton instead.
Is it right, Mitchell?
Nice one, Mitchell. Nuno is going to Fenerbahce, says Scoey. Fair play. Dan Wyatt says, Rafa isn't even the worst thing here. The worst thing, in my opinion, is we have a director of football who has to operate with his hands tied. We don't know that, do we? Really? We're just surmising, aren't we? We don't know. He's just signed, what I would say is, he's obviously happy the way things are going, because he just signed a new 3-year deal. And if he wasn't pleased with the way things were going, surely he wouldn't have signed an extension, would he?
No.
Well, I wouldn't have thought he would.
No. Ultimately, when he came in, he said this wasn't a quick job. He said he had to turn around. You know, there was a lot to turn around. It looks like when you. I was funny enough. I was looking through. I was on Instagram last night and I was just looking through the Instagram stories, and I seen one of the one of the players. I think it was Con. Usanidis had signed for a Danish club. I was there, yeah. And I was looking at the well wishers, and all the well wishers were like players who'd played for the under-23s in like either the first one that won it or the second one and won it. Yeah, and that to me, I was like, that's almost like your progress right there. And I know that sounds weird, but it was getting all these players out the club and getting that under 23s right down to where we know next season it's going to be 18 and 19-year-olds, and getting players out on loan and getting them out on loan when they're 20, so that we've still got a chance to either bring them into the first team or sell them and make a profit. And that to me was almost like the first step. You know, I think there was been an interview with Unsworth recently where he was like, you know, saying, but we've got this sorted now. He basically said Brands has done a brilliant job. He said the job Brands said he was going to do, he's done. Right. Yeah. And he's.
Well, the age group, the average age is going to be like 19 now in the 23s.
And there's a lot of exciting talent about to break through who were all quite young. Good. And we saw that towards the end of the season, didn't we, with all these young lads, and there's like a 17-year-old scoring a hat-trick for the under-23s and all this kind of thing. So it's not that case of like where we're sitting there all laughing our heads off that Matty Pennington's playing for the under-23s or
27.
Or, you know, 27, you know, obviously that's Nathan Broadhead. But, you know, it's a case of now he's got that running the way he wants it running, and he is in charge of it. I think that's quite clear that he's in charge of that now. And now it's that's you. And when you think about what a director of football is, that's your first task, is generating players who play for the first team, and that has to come from and then the next stage of that is getting your scouting system. Now I think he's already got the scouting system sorted. It's just not it going from getting it sorted as in knowing where people are to bearing fruit are two different things. Bearing fruit can take time, can't it?
And we're also in a global pandemic, which has hindered some of that stuff.
You can't go and scout players if you can't go the game, can you?
17 months. Yeah. So. Delamere Bear says, at the end of the day, once any of them are in the dugout, I back them. There's plenty of managers I didn't want, but I backed them all because I want Everton to succeed. Wormy Spoon says, Pereira has gone to Aston Villa. Be interesting if that is true. Like your boss says, lads, let's just get him in and get behind them. Yeah. FPL Prent Tipster says maybe the managers learn from the mistakes. Possibly. Coles King says some of our fans don't really know what they're saying if you don't like Moyes or Rafa. So don't tell me about pretty football. You want dice. Does he play pretty football? David Sanchez says, I want a refund for my season ticket if we sign Rafa. Then you'll be able to get one. If that's truly what you want, the club will give you it, because there's 15,000 on a waiting list who are waiting to take them.
And what'll happen then is, by the way, you'll have lost your season ticket.
Oh, you're gone. I mean,
so you're gone.
You're back to the bottom of the waiting list.
So if he does well, you'll miss it all. If he does poorly, we get a new manager in, you'll miss it all.
And for how many more you'll miss it.
So you've got to make that decision.
But the club will definitely give you your money back without a shadow of a doubt. FPL Prem Tipster says, if you don't back Rafa, if he's appointed, then you're not supporting Everton, you're doing the opposite. Matt Sumner says, tax dodging Carlo, pull the wool over our eyes. Even King has done an interview about how he lied to him. Here's a lot of blame to carry. Oh, Josh King. Has he? Okay, haven't seen that one yet. Chalky White says, who said Zidane failed at Madrid? He won 3 Champions League titles and 2.
No one said he failed, he just left.
Yeah, he left. Osric62 says, Newcastle United fan here, we want him back. Okay, fair enough. No, thanks, Ryan. Carson says we get Champions League with Chris Wilder as our manager. Matthew West says, I'm a lifelong blue. All my concern is what is best for the club. And we're trying to get, and where we are trying to get, so if it's Rafa, so be it. It's not a concern. It's not me offering to pay someone 8 million. That's it, isn't it? At the end of the day, if Everton choose him, they choose him, don't they? We're fans, we'll just go to match, and you want to see your team win, surely. Steve Barker says, must say I do tune in from time to time. As much as I love football, but I support Liverpool. Educational channel, well organised, but a bit depressing. Even at 7-2, Chris and Paul at the Red Men were happier. Cheer up.
I mean, that's fine when you've the league champions, you get beat 7-2, you can be happy, can't you?
Yeah. We're just going through it. It is what it is, mate. We will be happy at many times, I'm quite sure, this season. Adam Brooks having a go with David Sanchez. Each to their own, Adam. If David's not happy, fair play to him. Matt Sumner says no reason why Rafa and Brands and the right backing cannot work. Yeah, exactly. Nolog says no disrespect there, but Rafa was right. Now he will try to turn you into a big club. What's not to love? James Fretwell says Newcastle United fan here and thought Rafa was very good. He may play unattractive football, but he makes you very hard to beat. Yeah, fair. I mean, we've just had that from Carlo. So, the Everton way says we're a shambles at the minute from top to bottom. Last of the Corinthians says quicker it's done, quicker we can move on. Robert F says every club has lunatics, but that banner is just embarrassing. Yeah, it is. It is. Tom Gibbons says, personally, I think whoever we get, we have to back. Rafa's not my first choice, but we'll back him if it's him. I still want Gaultier. Yeah. Would have been nice to have him. Sol says, Barca was really against Rafa when the news came out. However, the more time I've thought, there really ain't any perfect choices. The COVID protocols have played a massive factor in the search. Probably, mate, yeah. And I've played the factor in how long this has took. David would rather have Eddie Howe than Rafa. Fair enough.
Jesus Christ.
Fair enough. Yeah, but each to their own.
No one else, but that's like the worst shout of
ever. Yeah, each to their own. Matthew Ranson says, if you're a true blue, you follow the club, whoever it is. Anthony Clay says, I think Rafa will do a great job. Any fans who don't want to go, there's plenty of fans on the waiting list who will go. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Aaron says that's a shout, Eddie Howe. Wow. There you go. I'm not going to tell people who they want.
I'm not, but I'd rather have a kidney removed.
No, I wouldn't have Eddie Howe.
Let's have a look at some of the patron comments. RCO2 I said a week ago when the Rafa stuff was said, it was out of order. Now our fans have reached a new low. Russell Smith says, afternoon lads, how much truth is there behind the reports that Moshiri is pushing through Benitez against the wishes of Brands? Paul Joyce has reported. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because one of those people owns the club and one of those people is an employee of the owner of the club. So it doesn't really matter. Moshiri wants him. Moshiri can put anyone as the manager because he owns the club. Dave Wild says, at the end of the day, it's the club we support. Some of the stuff I've seen from supporters is embarrassing. It's okay to dislike the decision, but to be so blatant and putting threatening message outside his house is a joke. We are surely better than that. Sadly, some people aren't, are they? Everton Vikings says, genuinely disgusted by the behaviour. It's idiot kids who generally don't even know what they're angry about. They're just using it as an excuse to do this mad stuff. The fella isn't even a bad fella. He's done loads for charity. It's generally small club behaviour. Getting upset by comments made 15 years ago. Big club wouldn't be asked. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's a different generation ago. In fact, it's so long ago that I couldn't even remember what game it was after. I actually thought it was after the game where we did beating us. But there you go.
After the 0-0.
Yeah. Steve Kelly says, all right, lads, hope you're both well. If the fans aren't happy, they should not be voicing their issues towards Rafa. It should be against the board. No, you're absolutely right.
Mills on the super chat says, Mills says Brands lives in West Kirby, pre-match Vinos.
Fran Roach says, lads, this is what your channel is all about, voicing and reflecting the opinions of us fans. You do a great job in doing that. I do wonder what the empty heads doing this will think if we were to be successful under him. It would be so Everton that to go and do it. We can but hope up the constantly in emotional turmoil Toffees. No, you're right, Frank. It's I do wonder whether people would accept success under Rafa Benitez. I know I would. That definitely accept.
Everyone will accept.
Success. No, I know. No, Baz, I can't talk for others. I know I would certainly accept it, and because ultimately he will have earned it. Simply. And Simon says, we are a Scouse Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa are a big club. So, on a good day, everyone needs to calm the hell down and give their heads a wobble. Let's have a look anymore. Shenlar says, banners are okay. It's what you put on them and where you put them. You're absolutely right, mate. Said this last week. Said, fans have the right to make their feelings known and heard, but it's how you do it and as you said, where you do it. If you want to put a banner outside Goodison that says, we don't want Rafa or the board need to listen or whatever, then that's fine with me. That I've got no problem with that. Fans have got the right to protest, but certainly, what that we've seen last night is just too far. Spraying Goodison as well. No. I mean,
defacing our own
ground. You're defacing your own ground that you're supposed to love.
Paul Mack says people will stop complaining when he wins trophies. Liam Floyd said Rafa will win Everton a trophy. No certainty of that. There isn't, but there's also no certainty that he won't, Liam. Is there? Johnny Hodgson says conspiracy theory. Rafa and Brands put the banner there to generate support for Rafa. They're now furiously explaining it to the police. Joke, by the way. Just no one knows what it's going to be like. People can predict this and it will be terrible and it'll be whatever this and it'll be negative and all of that. But at the end of the day, we don't know, and we'll only know that once he's in, won't we? It's the same people who go, Duncan Ferguson will get us relegated. You won't know until he's in doing it, and then he'd be sacked before it got to that.
There's nothing certain in football. There's nothing certain. We've seen a million things happen in football.
We were all excited when Carlo coming. We were all like, we're going to be sound. That get through the season, and we were 10th. We finished 10th in a year that it was harder to finish 10th than it was 6th.
But you certainly wouldn't have predicted Real Madrid would come calling for him and he would leave.
After that season. If he'd have got Everton 5th or something, you'd have gone home.
I remember when Mourinho went to United and everyone thought he's definitely that's it. He'll win the league and that'll be it. And that'll be, everything. Football cannot be predicted. It just can't be predicted. And that's why some decisions just seem irrational, because it's very hard to make a simple decision in football, because sometimes you have to do things that are strange. You have to shake things up a little bit, and certainly that's what this decision seems to be. So definitely. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Like the last few. John Bott says the first sign of bad result, the toxicity of the fans will see him gone. There can't be anyone who thinks it'll last longer than 6 months. But you don't know the results will be bad though, John, do you?
Yeah. See, that's the other thing I've seen as well. And this, I don't like that either. It's like this thing of, imagine next season at Anfield when everyone will be singing his name except for the Everton fans. Why? Why can't we go there and do well? Why have we already got a negative spin on it? Why? I hope this fella comes in and we're boss and he shuts up so many Evertonians. Because why are we already in that frame of mind that it's going to be a disaster? Why? What's the point? What other manager, right, that is on that list could you go, this fella comes in, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. This fella, what a track record he's got. People didn't even know who Galtier was 3 weeks ago. Never mind what he'd done. He's had one good season at Lille.
He was from runners up the year before. He's done well, but there's no guarantee that he could do anything. He's a French, like you just said before. Spurs haven't gone near him. Why? Spurs need a manager. Palace need, and the fella probably does want to go to Nice because his family is it. Apparently.
Silva won all kinds in Greece.
Got the
records for wins.
Still got it now. Yeah. Still got the record. No?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Things are,
There's no certainty.
There's no
like
certainty.
You've just said.
Brendan Rodgers comes in from Celtic and everyone goes, it's only Celtic.
Leicester have been great.
But
good. Then he could come here and it could go the other way. Jamie Warham says, all right, lads, what do you think more of a problem, getting a manager or how bad the squad is? They can't give away players. They're bad on massive wages. The squad is the thingy. The squad is the issue. We need players. Could be any manager on that touchline. If Everton don't get the right players, we're in trouble.
Richard Hindley says, surely it's got to be a football decision. If Rafa is the best choice available football-wise, then what's the problem? It has to be a football decision though, doesn't it? Always. Picking a manager has to always be a football decision. It can't be a decision for anything else. And Paddy says, doesn't matter who manages, we need better players before we can play better football. You're absolutely right, Paddy. I've said this last season when people were complaining about the style. I said, look at the squad. It's dross. The squad is dross. There's no pace at all in it. There's no, there's a very mad mix of players. Get the squad going in the right direction, and that is Brand's job. That is Brand's job, for me, as I look at it, is to bring the ingredients, the right ingredients to the manager, and go, if you want to make this great dish, here's the ingredients. Do you want this? And then it's up to the manager to go, yeah, I do want that. I want that, and let's put that in because that fits what I need. So if he walks in, if he's the manager, he walks in day one and goes, have you got a right back for me? And Brand's goes, no, that Dumfries, he's already sorted. I'm not saying he is. I've already sorted him. Brilliant. Because that's exactly what you need. I've been watching the tapes. You need that kind of right back. And he might come in first day and go, you know what? Have you looked at him? And Brand might go, yeah, I have. Yeah, he fits the bill as well. That's where they have to come together. Hopefully that's what happens.
Ex-Scouse FIFA says you guys are giving your players an out for playing crap.
I'm not giving them an out.
No, he's just saying, but people do.
I think the
people blame everybody else.
I blame them. Listen, I've said it numerous times. I do not blame Carlo Ancelotti for the style last season because I think our players are crap. I've said that loads of times. It's on record, it's on tape lots and lots of times. They're garbage. We've got a terrible squad as far as I'm concerned. It's a bloated, poor squad that really needs to be sorted out. And that I said that last season. I didn't think it was on Carlo. I thought Carlo took the situation. I know the home record was absolutely terrible, but I thought he took the situation on face value and put us in a position to win games of football, certainly away from home, and we did. That's if Rafa Benitez is the manager, you have to take that on board, and that'll suit him because he defensively he organises, and this defence will already be used to being organised, and that you have to go forward with that, and the better players you have, the better you can play, surely.
Yeah, of course.
So, but you can only start with what you've got, and Everton have to be on the front foot now. Get the manager in and start getting players in.
That's it. Yeah. Right, there you go.
Yeah, sure. Philip says, last one, these absolute banner people, I won't use the word.
Don't use the words, yeah.
Are doing my head in. whoever the manager is, just back him and give him a chance.
Yeah. Here.
There you go. There you go.
Michael Smith says, all right, Baz, how come you rate the squad so much? 4 players aside, it's a relegation squad. It's literally just finished 8 points off the Champions League. That's to me, is just, that is berserk. This thing of that, people rate squads like, Villa are amazing. They're not. You know, it is mad.
It's what you get out the squad.
It's what you get out
it's what
as
you get
well.
Out of it.
Each to your own. Michael, it's up to you, mate. You rate the players how you want. I know a footballer when I see one.
I think they're crap, though. So
there you go.
That's where we vary.
There you go. But I think if you put good players, if Everton go and get what they need, the team will look totally different and everyone will be waxing lyrical over them again. I just think it's dead easy to look at your team and go, they're crap, he's crap. Everton need power and pace in it. I've not shied away from that. There's players in there I wouldn't have at any club. But there's also players who get better with other players as well. So I just don't think you can go, that squad, well, it's not a relegation squad, otherwise they'd have gone down. It wouldn't have been 8 points off a Champions League place if it was a relegation squad. And yet the same people talk about Arsenal like they're a great on Spurs. Anyway, it is what it is. That's, I've had enough. We're done. We'll see you tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah, make sure to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back at live 5 o'clock over on Patreon if you want to join us and you haven't signed up. The link is in the description and it's on the screen right now if you're watching this video. See you later.